So, how do we decode this alphabet soup of everything that we now have to start thinking about so that we can be everywhere? So, SEO is our traditional process of ranking in search engines to drive traffic. Then we have AEO, which is our answer engine optimization. Then we've got GEO, which is generative engine optimization. And then finally, we've got AIO, which is AI optimization. There's anything you want to add into the alphabet soup there to help give everyone some clarity?
It is a bit of an alphabet soup, isn't it? And it's actually a really good slide as well. I like that. It's quite powerful. Yeah, one thing I would like to add, and a lot of YouTubers, a lot of our people watching this might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm gonna say it anyway, Carl. I think the days of just making a YouTube video and hoping for the best, which is what a lot of creators used to do, I think that's changed.
If we look back just a few years ago, SEO was almost entirely focused on Google, but today's attention is highly fragmented. Users are now searching across multiple platforms, including YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, and a whole lot of AI platforms and chatbots. What do people need to think about in this kind of environment to adjust to all the changes that are coming their way?
Yeah, so Cole, I think this is actually a great opportunity. I think if you're a creator that is up on all this and up on what's going on at the moment, this is a huge opportunity because so many creators aren't really aware of what's happening. I actually think if you can bring something new to the table, as in new to your niche, something that the AI overviews have not basically, they can't actually output onto the screen. If you can bring something new and fresh and from your own perspective, I think this gives you a huge advantage. Also, as well, don't just publish on one platform, publish on multiple platforms. But obviously, we can get into that a little bit later in the presentation. But no, honestly, anyone that's looking to actually get ahead on YouTube in 2026, definitely start looking to actually bring something fresh to the table. Otherwise, you're going to struggle like most of the other creators in 2026.
So well said, Des, and I think it's so important for people to stay relevant as creators and adopt to this search everywhere optimization and shift their mindset from putting all their eggs in one basket. And like you say, let's start looking at all of the other platforms that we need to be on. And just to give you guys a bit of perspective, in the last 365 days, we've got 278,421 views from Google SEO. So we know what it was like before everything changed and got in the results in ranking inside of Google search. And we want to share this with you and share how you can start adapting to all the changes that are in the environment, like Des said, to start looking at all the other platforms and everything that we need to do to stay relevant for your audience.
So, Carl, can I ask you a question then? What are you doing? What were you doing before then? With how you managed to get so many of your videos in the search results? Because that is unusual, isn't it? You were doing something a little bit different from a lot of creators, and I think that's why your channel has done so well. So, what were you doing so well then to actually get in the search results with your videos?
Yes, Des. So if you have a look, here's a breakdown. So 73% of our traffic was coming from Google search. And that's really because we structured our videos in a way to be the best answer for questions that our audience was asking. So we created very simple videos that answered a question and answered it in the intent that they wanted it. So we didn't add any fluff. We didn't add in all this elaborate storytelling. We just got to the point and gave them the best answer for the question that people were searching within Google search. And we also tried to find questions where a video answer or an answer in video format was the best thing that Google wanted to serve because you can go in depth, because you can show the explanation, you can show diagrams, you can show them your screen and share a whole lot of more information than just the basic text can. And that's really how we went about it and why we've managed to get such good results in ranking inside of Google search.
And I noticed as well, Carl, you were making quite short videos, weren't you? So you were literally answering the question in those like first 2 or 3 minutes. Are you actually doing the same thing in 2026, or have you slightly changed things a little bit? Have you tweaked anything about that?
Yeah, so we are starting to tweak a bit, and we'll get into it more in how we need to start adapting for the change in environment. The short to the point answers aren't working as well as they used to because of the new AI summaries that Google's sharing. I mean, you've spoken about this a lot in our podcast, is and you'll be the best person to explain this to our viewers. Is what is that AI summary that Google's now showing instead of showing a video?
Yeah, sure. So basically, what happened is just a short part of the actual story with Google is Google did not want to use AI in the actual summaries that you're seeing here now. They were dragged into this car. What basically changed everything was that Chat GPT moment a couple of years ago, where they kind of used Google's own research to actually create Chat GPT. And obviously, all the other platforms, the Microsofts of the world, the X, all the new platforms started to come in online, and it basically forced Google to actually now having to start showing an AI overview. Basically, what they do is they basically extract from videos, from websites, from blog posts. They extract all that information and they give you a nice little summary at the very top. The reason why they didn't want to actually show these is they're an advertising platform. Most people realize that when they do a Google search, there's generally ads at the very top of Google. So they didn't want to go down this road. They were forced to. But now they have gone down that road. What they're having to do, and what we've noticed a lot more in YouTube, is they're trying to show as many YouTube videos as they can in the AI results, because the moment you click on that video, it shows an ad. So where they can actually show a video, or where they can link to a video, that is what Google is trying to do, and that was a massive change that happened last year and towards the end of 2024.
Yeah, and understanding that's really what Google is incentivized to do. They make their money from showing the ads. So they also adapting to this new environment where their summaries are working well, but they do want to still get ads in front of their audience. And that's how they're going to now use the videos to surface the ad when they are answering questions inside of that AI summary. Very, very important point for everyone to take into account there, Des.
Also, can I give a little tip as well, Carl?
Hmm.
If you are actually going to make a video, what I would actually recommend that you do is actually put your title into Google, all right, and see what it brings up, or even part of your title into Google to see what it brings up. Because if your video is just kind of mimicking or just copying what is actually in the AI overview, I think you're going to struggle to actually do really well with that video. It's looking for something fresh, looking for something new, and most importantly, it's looking at it from a human perspective, something that the AI overview is not showing. So that if that's a tip that somebody wants to take away from this part of the actual podcast, that is definitely it. Make sure that whatever the AI overview is saying, you need to bring a little bit more to the table for your video.
Yeah, so you can't just have those simple videos anymore. You actually need to go into a little bit more depth and also bringing in your own stories, your own experiences. AI can't talk to human experiences. They can't talk to human failures. They can't talk to real life situations that you can now bring into that. And that's really what humans are going to connect with more as we head into this AI age. Humans want to connect with more humans. They want to hear human stories and they want to hear a human talking about their journey, their failures, their wins, and what they've experienced. So, as creators, that's something that we can really, really lean into to add a little bit more of us into our videos, and that'll help separate you from those AI summaries. So, there's one of the things that we have been seeing is with the AI now referencing YouTube videos and websites, the impressions for us are going up, but there's actually been a decrease in the number of clicks that we're getting because a lot of the AI summaries are people are just consuming the AI summary and that's enough for them and they've kind of got what they were looking for and they are on to the next thing. How does this affect us as YouTube creators and what do you think people need to think about in approaching this?
Yeah, it affects us massively. And I think in previous podcasts, we've talked about the no click the no-click search. So in essence, what people are doing is going onto Google, typing in a question that they have, and before they used to click on websites or a blog post, like I've just mentioned. But now, because of this AI overview, for example, less people are actually clicking on those links. Less people are clicking through to read a blog post. Less people are even clicking on the videos, for example, that used to come up for those. So yeah, and I suppose in answer to your question, what can you do? It is going back to what I said originally. Actually, it's actually coming up with something new, something fresh that the AI overview can't replicate. It's going to be a theme going all the way through this podcast, Carl, because honestly, if you don't do this, you're not going to get the actual impressions and you're not going to get the exposure that your video wants. This is something that's huge in 2026, and I really want to see more members doing this if they can in their videos.
Definitely. That's one of the big things that we need to lean into for the future is get better at being more human, because being more human is going to do well for you. So one of the things we talk about a lot, Des, is your viewers' intent, is what is their intention when they are coming onto YouTube to watch videos, or what is their intent when they are speaking to their LLMs to ask questions, to solve problems, to learn something new. And this is where you really need to reverse engineer your audience and what questions are they asking? What problems are they thinking about? What are they searching for, chatting about in their LLMs? And if you can reverse engineer their intent, then you're going to be able to create videos to help them along in their journey. I know this is something that you've been working quite hard on, Des. So, what do creators need to think about when they're starting out trying to understand their audience better?
Yeah, as I was saying in the previous slide, the fact that they need to put their actual title into Google to find the intent, Google will actually show you what the intent is as soon as you put your title there. So that's a very good tip. That's a very good indication of the first thing you can do. Secondly, I think it's a good idea before you record your videos to do a massive amount of research on the forums, on the places like Reddit, for example. See what comes up when somebody types in a question into one of the chatbots. See what comes up. See what the output is, and that will give you a really good idea of what to put in your video and what not to put in your video as well, Carl. I actually use a platform called Grok, which is part of X. The reason why I use that platform for my research is it has the ability to actually search through the X feeds, and it can also look across the forums as well. So before I actually start writing my script, I basically do the research on a platform like that first, grab all the information from the likes of Reddit, from YouTube, even and on the websites. I think they even use their own sort of kind of a Wikipedia called Grokkipedia on there. I draw all that information first before I start writing my script. It's really important for me to know the user intent, and there's no better way than doing that than actually doing the actual research off platform.
I think that's so good, Des. And there's something that you said there that I want to double click on just to make sure that everyone understands. It's Des spoke about think about where your audience is spending their time online. So, are they in the forums? Are they on X? Are they on YouTube? Are they in Grok? Are they in Gemini? Are they in ChatGPT? If you can understand where they're spending their time, it's going to be easier for you to understand their intent and then create your videos to serve exactly where they are. And this is where the search everywhere optimization is really going to come together, and it'll just click for you because you need to meet your audience where they currently are, especially if they haven't discovered you yet. You need to get in front of them where they are. So understanding that intent is going to be a big unlock for your channel.
Absolutely, Carl. And I think we mentioned this before. What we tend to do on our channels is do a bit of repurposing. So we use a YouTube video and we can obviously send it out to multiple different places. But then the one thing I will say is if you're going to do something like that for the search intent, just make sure the content that you're actually putting on these different platforms, make sure the actual text is slightly different from another. So you can grab the text from the transcripts from your short video, and let's say, for example, you wanted to post it in one of the a blog post, for example, or you wanted to post it on a Substack. My recommendation or our recommendation is just to make sure the actual text is different. Don't just copy it everywhere across the internet. Obviously, it's a good idea to find the intent, but just make sure the message is the same, but the text that you actually use is actually different on all the other different platforms.
Very, very good pointer. So, how do we decode this alphabet soup of everything that we now have to start thinking about so that we can be everywhere? I'm going to go through just a quick overview of what each one is. I'm sure most of you do know, but this is for those that are a little bit confused what each one means. So, SEO is our traditional process of ranking in search engines to drive traffic. And I showed you guys in the beginning how we've got those kind of good results in Google for the SEO. Then we have AEO, which is our answer engine optimization. And this is structuring your content to be featured as a direct answer in those AI overviews and the voice assistants. One big thing that I want Des and I to dive into is thinking about how people are going to start using voice and voice assistants more than typing, because this is a big trend that we're seeing. Then we've got GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization, and that's getting your brand recommended and cited by the AI synthesizing complex questions and answers when people are chatting to them. And then finally, we've got AIO, which is AI optimization. And that is ensuring your brand's footprint is large enough that AI actually knows it exists. And this is where being everywhere and being on different platforms is so important for your brand so that AI can reference you and see you as a brand to recommend to your audience. There's anything you want to add into the alphabet soup there to help give everyone some clarity?
It is a bit of an alphabet soup, isn't it? And it's actually a really good slide as well. I like that. It's quite powerful. Yeah, one thing I would like to add, and a lot of YouTubers, a lot of our people watching this might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm gonna say it anyway, Carl. I think the days of just making a YouTube video and hoping for the best, which is what a lot of creators used to do, I think that's changed. I think you now need to actually start posting on different platforms, like I mentioned previously. But more importantly, as well, another tip for people is if you are going to post on different platforms and have your content in many different places, you really need to make sure that your bio, so like your YouTube bio on your homepage, your description, that is the same on every platform, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on LinkedIn. You need to make sure it's exactly the same, because if you're saying one thing on Instagram, for example, but your YouTube homepage description is saying something different, there's going to be a bit of a disconnect, and that's going to hurt you when you're actually making your YouTube videos. Secondly, I think LinkedIn is something that I would actually recommend that people start republishing or start repurposing their content to. I know this is not something that you do personally, but I actually recommend, even if you're not on LinkedIn, even if you're not posting on there, if you do a search for somebody's name, if let's say, for example, I did a search for you, Carl, if you were posting on LinkedIn, it would probably be one of those websites that comes up very high up if I Google your name. And the reason why is YouTube and Google are looking at it as an authority. It's looking at it as an authority because this is a this is a profile that you own. Nobody can replicate it. No one else is going to be called Carl Bro with all your credentials on there. And it's looking at it as an authority website. Okay. So whatever you're saying on your YouTube video, whatever you're saying that your skills are and what you bring to the table needs to be ideally matched to what you're actually saying on LinkedIn as well. Because from what I can see, Carl, YouTube is cross-referencing with LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is not the only website, but I think as a starter, for most people who are actually looking to get started on YouTube, start posting your content on LinkedIn as well. We generally repurpose, so we cut our videos into smaller snippets, and then we republish onto LinkedIn that way, and then maybe like a small piece of text. But honestly, if you don't start doing that, you're going to make your life so much harder when you're actually publishing content, especially if you're talking about anything that's medical, anything that's uh, legal, for example, anything like that you're mentioning in your video, if you can't back that up on another platform, YouTube's not going to look at that favorably, and it won't actually give your video that much exposure.
I want to reiterate what Des said there because it was so, so important is having consistency across your different profiles is so good for your brand and so good for the AI to be able to reference you consistently. If you're the same on YouTube as you are on LinkedIn, as you are on X, that is so, so important. So people can start getting used to seeing you and seeing you as an authority in your niche. Really, really important. Well said, Des. So one of the things I want to just go back to is the analytics on our YouTube channel, just to show you the adjustments that we are starting to make. We're starting to see all of the signals of us getting into the answer engine optimization, into the generative engine optimization, and into the AI optimization. And you can start seeing that inside of your YouTube analytics. If you look at your external views, so your views coming from outside of YouTube, traffic from external, it's all from ChatGPT. And if you add those two together, that's over 3,000 views that we've had from ChatGPT. So it's starting to reference us. And if we start scrolling down to have a look at some of the others, we've got to go down because there are quite a few here, but we're getting 46 views from Perplexity. So all of the little different LLMs are starting to create these little streams of views coming into our YouTube channel. And this does take a while as you start adapting to everything that we're speaking about here. But it's a really nice way to start trickling new traffic into your YouTube channel. So decoding this alphabet soup, it's just really nice to look at this search matrix and you can clearly see how it all fits together and a nice little summary to make it easier for you to decide which one you want to start focusing on for your YouTube channel.
So this is a really interesting matrix, Carl, and I think it's all right to look at this. And yes, there are four separate things regarding the search matrix, but we still want you to enjoy making the process of making videos. Yes, we're getting quite technical here, but these things that we're showing on here are quite important. Before in 2024, 2025, SEO was really important, but now AEO, GEO, and AIO are really important things to add to the mix as well. But I think if we're going to generalize this, just make sure, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, make sure that your actual videos are personal. So you're bringing personal stories to your videos, and you're also bringing new data, for example, maybe something that's trending today. Those are the kind of things you need to kind of concentrate on. Yes, this looks quite scary, this matrix here, when we look at it in isolation. But if you just keep it simple, bring something new, bring something that's trending to that video, there's a really great chance that you can kind of start ranking for all of these different matrix that you see here.
Yeah, and by ranking from all of them, then you can start creating those streams, and all those streams will join together as tributaries and create this really nice flow of traffic for your YouTube channel. So you know that Des and I really love YouTube and we love the advantage that you guys get from YouTube. So why is video such an incredible strategic advantage? It's because all of these LLMs, they've been trained, their models have been trained at looking at millions of hours of YouTube transcripts. I mean, Des, you know a lot about how they've dived into this and how much they're pulling from YouTube. Des, can you talk about why these LLMs like referencing YouTube so much and why YouTube videos are so good for the LLMs?
Yeah, it's people like you, Carl. You make great videos that are generally what we call search based. So you're basically doing the one problem, one solution videos, something that you've been doing for quite a few years, and you're basically looking through your forum. You've got your own obviously community. You're looking at through the forums online to see what kind of questions people are asking about YouTube. And then what you did is you made videos answering that question. And I think the reason why your videos have done so well in Google search and even bringing up on the AIO views now is the fact that you are answering the problems that people have had in your videos. All right. Not so much text based, but more so video based. And that is why the chatbots, that is why the Google AI overview loves videos like yours, because you are answering people's problems. Okay. Anybody that has a question about something on YouTube, you probably covered it on your channel. Hence the reason why it likes to extract that data from your videos.
Yeah, such a great way to to start using it and to give you an idea of how to craft your videos so you can start showing up for your audience when they are looking at these things. Des and I have touched a little bit on intent, but what we really want to speak about now is how to understand the new conversation that people are having. The way that people talk to AI is very different to traditional search on Google and inside of YouTube. And AI prompts are, on average, 5 times longer than traditional search queries inside of Google or YouTube. And understanding that the broad terms, the targeted niche, the long tail queries, they do show high intent, but you need to find out how your audience is speaking conversationally. What kind of queries are they using, and what is their actual interactions like inside of an LLM? And one of the things that Des mentioned is understanding what forums your audience is in, and understanding the conversations that are happening in there. That's going to give you a better understanding of their conversational intent. I know, Des, you've dived a lot into this. What things do we need to think about to understand our audience better?
Yeah, to be honest, Carl, I'm gonna have a bit of a play with this because I think you brought in the very chocolate cake analogy a few weeks back, and I want to use that because I thought it was quite funny. So let's say, for example, you're talking in your video and you say that you,
I like my chocolate cake.
yeah, you like your chocolate cakes. Yeah, so Cole, what's really interesting in is a few things have changed. Before, you could be quite generic in your language. So let's say, for example, you had favorite cakes, for example. You could just basically in your video just says, you know, you can talk about something and just say, yeah, I've got some favorite cakes that I'm interested in, and then move on. Now, what the AI overviews are looking for, what the chatbots are looking for, is now for you to be very specific in what you're talking about. So instead of just saying you have favorite cakes, you need to say you like butter cakes, you like chocolate cakes, you like foam cakes, you like chocolate truffles, for example. You need to be very specific and name those. And those are what we call nodes. I don't want to go into too much detail on those, but what they are looking for now is instead of just being generic, you need to actually name specific things to do with that main category. And let's say, for example, you're talking about maybe CRMs, you need to talk about HubSpot, you need to be talking about anything that's relevant to the thing that you're talking about. That's really, really important now. Because if you don't, again, it's going to be a struggle to get any exposure for your video.
So important to think about, and that leads really well into our answer first content structure. It's really understanding, like Des said, what are the nodes that you're going to touch on in your video so that the large language models, they can extract clean answers. So we don't want to we don't want to add too much fluff to our videos. We want to be very specific and to the point at the start of the video, and then we can go into more stories, more experiences, explaining more in depth. So have a look at this podcast is quite a good example. We started off with a high level overview. We went into the alphabet soup where we explained all of them, but every AI summary is going to have those basic explanations for what each one means. Now we can go into the stories. Now we can share the experiences of what we have been testing with our YouTube channel, the results we've got, our theories and our hypothesis, and helping guide you through this by using our experience and using Des and I, your guinea pigs. So we go out and test stuff for you. Like Des has been testing these nodes to check how they work and where to put them in the videos. And then we're going to come back with all the results and we're going to share them with you, which is, you guys are the lucky ones. It's nice that we get to be able to test this, but also understanding how do we then get to level 2 and level 3. There's the deep dive and the comparisons. How do we get into that stuff and make it relevant for our audience?
Carl, that's a really great question. And I've been doing a hell of a lot of research on this. So, what I found is what YouTube likes, it likes when you've actually gone away to do your own research on this. And I know some of the viewers don't have school communities, for example, but If you have a school community and you do a poll, for example, a school is basically a platform where people have several communities, just in case you don't know. But we have school communities, and what happens is if you can do your own research in your school community, like a poll, and then you bring that into your actual YouTube video into the script, it loves that sort of stuff. It loves that you've actually gone away, done your own research, and you're bringing something personal to your YouTube video. Because again, we're going to keep saying this throughout the video, the AI overview cannot replicate your personal experience in this. All right. Also, as well, you don't need to name the people that are actually in the poll, but you can basically break down exactly what was said. Even if you don't use something within your own school community, the fact that you've gone away then and then done further research and then brought things in from your own research, again, really helps your videos. And this is something that the chatbots like, this is something that Google AI Overview is looking for. And again, it goes back to your own personal experience. If you don't bring that into your YouTube video, you are literally just another Me Too video publishing content into the ether.
So good to dive into that. And once you've got through all the good stuff, don't forget your call to action. Your audience is not going to know what action to take at the end of your video, so you need to guide them. So far too many people do all the hard work and then they don't have a good call to action. And one call to action. I was watching some YouTube videos from inside our community, and we had download our free guide, subscribe to the channel, don't forget to like, also leave a comment down below, and come and join my community. And I was so confused after 5 different call to actions. Just give them one outcome for every video, so they don't get confused, they don't get decision fatigue, don't give them too many options. Just guide them to do one thing at the end of each video. So understanding the authority ecosystem, having a great website or just a YouTube channel isn't enough anymore. AI looks for different signals from all over the place. Are you mentioned in other YouTube videos? Are you mentioned in the news? Did you appear on other podcasts? Are you active on different social medias? Are people talking about you on different social medias? This has got a lot to do with what you said, Des, is you can't just be on one platform anymore. And understanding that people do need to now be on all the other different platforms to be visible for the AI. Can you just talk a little bit about how this creates a really good trust consensus for the AI to reference different platforms when all the information they're pulling is consistent for your brand?
Absolutely, yeah. The way they're designed, Carl, is they're quite lazy actually, the chatbots. They want to draw information from very high domain authority websites. Like I said, the likes of Reddit, the likes of Substack, the likes of LinkedIn. And it really helps your cause if you can start repurposing your content to those platforms. All right. So when I say repurposing, I mean we use a piece of software called Opus Clip. There are many different others, but this is what we use. Opus Clip, it basically takes your long form video and cuts it up into smaller bite-sized videos. And then with that content, you distribute out to many different places. But what's really important here, Carl, and I really want to underline this, it's important as well that YouTube and Google see that other people are mentioning your brand, just like you just mentioned. And the fact that you have comments under your YouTube video, the fact that you have comments within your LinkedIn profile, the fact that you might have people talking about you on another platform like Substack or Reddit, those are indications that are really important for your YouTube video, believe it or not. It actually helps your YouTube video. As I mentioned before, what YouTube do and what Google do is they cross-reference whatever you're talking about, whatever you're saying, and it needs to just double check across the internet that you kind of have the authority to say what you are saying on that video. It's not just going to take it as read. It wants to hear from other opinions on the internet that you know what you're talking about. And there's no better way than to actually repurpose to other platforms and have them talking about you on those other platforms.
I think this is so important, and a lot of new creators don't apply this well enough. If your audience doesn't know about you, if they haven't seen a video, if you're not getting in front of them with your content, then they're not going to buy from you because they don't know about you. And at the moment, the creators that are the loudest brands, they are getting the most views, they're getting the most PR, they're getting the most exposure to their audience. So if we look at someone like Alex Hormozy, he's publishing more and more content every single day. And he is probably the loudest online on YouTube, on social media. He's the loudest person creating content. So we're all seeing him and we're all getting exposed to more of what he's talking about and what he's doing. And I don't know if you guys saw this week, but Layla Hormozy has stepped down as CEO for acquisition.com. She is moving into a new role. She's not stepping down because she's not the best at being the CEO. They're putting her into head of content. So she is going to be driving content for the business. And I think that her and Alex are going to start producing more and more content. They're going to start being the loudest brand, the loudest personal brand, and the loudest company brand out there to build out everything that they want to for their business. So it's something to think about is, are you being loud enough? And are you being loud enough on lots of different platforms so that your audience can hear about you? So if we want to be loud, what do we need to be loud about? This is a really nice thing to think about as to what you need to focus on to separate you from everyone else that's creating content out there. We want you to focus on 1, expertise, 2, experience, 3, your authoritativeness, if we can say that one correctly, and your trustworthiness. So EEAT. And we want to, this is going to create the foundation for you for your search visibility so that the alphabet soup can start shouting from the hills about you. So while AI can easily rephrase facts, it can pull the summary from your video, it can't replicate your firsthand human experience. I'm going to say this over and over again, and I'm going to say it more and more because I'm going to start being louder and louder for you guys, but get better at being human. No one can be better at being human than you. And you have your own unique firsthand human experiences. So go out into the world, do cool stuff, and then come back to YouTube and talk about the stuff that you've done because AI cannot do that. So we want to focus on sharing original research that you're doing, original personal stories from the things that you've gone out and done. What can you genuinely share about your niche and your story to make you an expert, to show you as an authority in your niche? I mean, what are the other things that the creators need to think about, Des, to be able to stand out as being more human here?
Yeah, again, we've brought across the actual fact that you need to be obviously a lot more human. Bring stories like you just said, and they don't need to be recent stories as well. You could have a favorite recipe from your grandmother back in the day. It goes back to the fact that what you're trying to say in that video can't be replicated in an AI overview. Again, we're going to keep saying that it can't be replicated in an AI overview. So it's not necessarily up to date. It can be just your experience of what you've actually experienced in life. The second thing as well, Carl, that I want to just touch on is if you're going to mention statistics in your video, for example, you need to name where that statistic came from. You can't now just say 26% of X was Z. You can't say that. You need to actually say the actual statistic and actually say where you got that information from. Again, YouTube is looking at, I just don't want to take your word for it. I want to know that you've actually getting those statistics, that information from a place a place that's respected and the original source of that information. If you just throw any statistic around, it really doesn't work on your YouTube channels anymore. And again, it's one of the big changes that's happened this year.
So the ultimate truth, and this is really what Des and I want to bring to you so that you can build a better brand on YouTube. You can't endlessly keep looking for these hacks or to game the AI system with your technical tricks. Ultimately, the most effective long-term strategy is to simply build a better business, build a better brand, and be better at being you, because no one and no AI model is going to be able to replicate you at being you. I mean, we have harped on about this, Des, but maybe if you can dive a little bit into being credible and trustworthy as a brand with your content.
Yeah, sure. Again, it goes back to being credible online, really. The fact that you're producing content in other platforms really helps your cause. I'm not saying that you can't just make YouTube videos, but the fact that your content is in different places really helps your cause in this. And also, if you can collaborate, actually, this is going back to a podcast we did months ago, Carl. But even the collaboration process of me and you doing this collaboration together, your credibility is lent to mine and vice versa. If you can start doing more collaborations, even if you've got 300 subscribers on your channel, maybe do a collaboration with somebody that's got 2,000 or 3,000, for example. If you've got 10,000 subscribers, maybe look for somebody, a channel that has maybe 40 or 50,000. They are more than happy to actually collaborate with you. They don't mind collaborating with you because it means that they actually get extra exposure as well. And it's just a little tip. You don't have to do this, but we found that it works for us, and hence the reason why this podcast works really well, because we collaborate, and Google and YouTube and the chatbots kind of look at us as the same entity, as it were. So even doing something as simple as that can really help your cause. And like Carl says, it's not a case of trying to try all these different strategies. A lot of the time now, it's just about being yourself and actually showing that you've got your own experience and bringing it to your YouTube videos. You don't really need to do much more than that, apart from being yourself and just bringing your experience to your video.
Definitely it is. Despite all of the fancy alphabet soup and all the acronyms of AEO and GEO and IEO, the underlying strategy, like Des said, the underlying fundamentals have not changed. So success still requires creating genuinely helpful content, maintaining a good personal brand, and directly answering the questions that your audience has. And you can't answer these questions if you don't understand them and understand what their challenges are and what their problems are. So get to know your audience better. And Des did touch on this, is your school community is such a good place to engage with your audience, to ask them what they're battling with, what are their challenges, what do they need help with, what are their goals and dreams, what are they trying to do, what are they trying to achieve. This is a really nice way to understand them. And we wanted to share this checklist with you just to give you something to go through and check, because there's a lot to think about when you do want to get onto all the different platforms. But this is just a little bit of what we covered in today's podcast. So there's a lot of noise out there with so many creators coming onto the platform. But what is a key takeaway that you really want our audience to hear today?
I think one of the main takeaways, I think, is be yourself. All right. I know it sounds very cliche, but be yourself, bring your own personality to the video, bring your own experience to the video. And if you've got a school community, by the way, it gives you a lot of power, because I know a lot of members don't, a lot of viewers don't have a school community, but if you do have a school community, or you have some sort of forum where you can actually share that other people are talking about different things, and you've kind of done many different polls, you've asked lots of questions, I think that would really help you. And it just makes the difference between someone making a YouTube video with their own experience and somebody making a YouTube video with their experience and the information that they're drawing from a community of like-minded individuals. So yeah, that would be my main takeaway, Carl.
So, if you guys want to learn how to implement everything that we've spoken about today, Des has an amazing community helping new YouTubers implement all of these AI tools and leverage them to make your content more human and to help you get louder and to make your content reach your audience. So if that's something you're interested in and you want help implementing all of these, then we'll leave a link for you in the description down below. So then you can head across to Des's Content Revenue Lab community, and it helps over 40s monetize their YouTube channel using all these amazing new AI tools. So if you want to understand how to get past the AI overview and start making content that's more meaningful, we've got another podcast episode for you where we dive into how to use Notebook LM as a leverage tool to create better content and to communicate more of your experience and stories in your content. And you can watch that episode right here.